I think of a German exchange student we had a few years ago because I think Dresden is a place in Germany. So when I say Dresden, what do you think of?
Probably not much. I just think of a city in Germany, and they probably have good food there.
Dresden is, I think, that was a battle in World War One.
It sounds like a city in Europe, probably Germany.
Think of German?
Daft Punk.
Weird words.
I don't know. Jamaica dreads. I don't know.
I think of my family members who visited there.
Think of rivers and floods.
So I'm Julia from Germany. I'm from Donaueschingen, and if I think of Dresden, I think it's a fancy city.
I'm Niklas from Berlin, Germany, and when I heard Dresden, I think of sailing.
I'm Dominic from Germany, like between Stuttgart and Stuttgart and Karlsruhe. And when I think of Dresden, it's like gingerbread in the Christmas time.
I'm here to talk to you a little bit about an exciting opportunity that you have and that we have here at Timpview High School. And you probably have already heard a little bit about it, but you're not quite sure what's going on yet. And so I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, and then you're going to start down this path today with Mr. Harrell. To set it all up, learning to play a musical instrument, learning to be a musician, learning music is a wonderful, expanding experience that you really can't compare to anything else. It's wonderful. That wonderful experience becomes even better when you can build bridges from your musicianship to other things. Today, I want to talk to you about an opportunity that you're going to have to build one of the most memorable bridges that you will build during your high school time. We're going to do a little collaboration between Timpview German and Timpview Symphonic Band. You're going to be playing the Symphony number 1 in Memoriam, Dresden, 1945. This is a piece like no other piece you've ever played. You're going to learn to think about music differently as you play this. You're going to think about your musicianship differently as you play this. You're going to become a different musician as you play this. But more than that, you're going to become a different person. And you're going to understand a larger context and how that plays into your music and into your life and into your understanding of the world at large. We're going to do a variety of different things. You might be wondering, why is Caleb making video right now? Some of you I've done some really quick short interviews with you. We're going to make a little documentary of this process, starting from not knowing anything to sight reading the music today, to learning a little bit of history and culture and context, to a final performance. We're going to have some opportunities during lunch to learn some more history about Dresden. And you'll want to start learning more history about Dresden after you sight read it today, because you're going to be thinking, what is this? And why is this like this? Why is the music this way? Dresden was bombed in 1945, 75 years ago, February 13th through 15th. We're going to have a concert at that same time, playing this for the 75th anniversary of this experience. I don't want to give away any more information, but I want you to think of this as an exciting opportunity. This is not one more thing you have to do. This is one more thing that's going to be one of the most memorable experiences you have at Timpview High School, and it will change you as a musician. So look forward to it. Caleb's going to stay here and get a little bit of footage of you guys sight reading it for the first time and learning about this. So thank you so much.
Hi, Sami. Both times, it's been a very emotional piece for the band. It's been an emotional piece for the audience. I've actually seen people not mad at the music, but they were emotionally disturbed because of how it touched them, have to leave the auditorium. And I could hear people weeping as they were leaving the auditorium. Now you have symbols written in your part. Let's see here. Is it on the front? Let me see your part for a second. Okay. So this music dictates the feeling as it's happening and the morning after. Okay? So as you're looking at your parts with those symbols, try your best to remember. All right? Maybe what I'll do also is make a copy of this page to give to you. All right? And then I'll try to direct and tell you a few things as we go through at the same time. All right? So sit up here, but don't hold anything back. You do need to keep it balanced. All right? But don't hold anything back. Here's the beginner. Starts off with bass drum. Bells. Here comes tuba. Bassoon on 4 here. Percussion again. Horn solo here. 1. Muted trumpet on the end of 3 and 4. Here's the 4/4. 5s. Always nice and steady. Horns here on 2 together. 1. Crescendo from soft. 3 and 4. 2 timbres that time. 3, 4. Another chance. 2. Percussion on 4. Measure 6. German words right here, real fast. Nothing loud. What's this sound like right here? It could just be some uncertainty. It could be planes from a distance. Here's that 2/4. 1. Trombones. High step here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two and 3, huge. Not yet, not yet. There you go. Trombones coming up on B2. Let's measure 1. Symphony on 4 here. 5s on 2. English horn, but for now sax solo. Bassoons, duet. That'll need to be a duet right there eventually. Very nice. And crescendo here, and 2, and crescendo more. Comes back down here. 20th second. Set every breathe, keep it all together. 10th second. Sorry, 30th second. Bring it up, come on. More. 40th second. Keep it coming.
It's a disturbing piece. I mean, yeah, it's just disturbing, kind of crazy. Not your average song, not something that I've ever played before.
So, when we first played it, I kind of felt like I was there when it was bombed and could hear everyone, like all the screams, and it was kind of emotional. And
my first impression of the music was that it was kind of disturbing. It reminded me of what actually happened in Dresden.
Okay, my first impression, it's very emotional piece. It's unlike anything I've played before. It was very different. It kind of, chills up the spine. Very different, but very, very emotional, beautiful piece.
My first impression of playing this song was, it was a very emotional piece. I liked how it started peaceful and then it really got intense in the last movement of the song.
This isn't a story about who was on the right and who was in the wrong and who should have won and who should have lost. That's not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about is a step back from that. We're talking about the larger context of what it means to be human. When we as a human family lose important works of art, they're lost to the entire human family. When in a war in the Middle East, a mosque is destroyed, or a famous sculpture is destroyed, or anything that is part of our human history is destroyed, that's not just a loss to those people, that's a loss to all of us. Dresden was known as the Florence of the North, the Florence on the Elbe. The Elbe is the river here, or the Pearl of the Elbe. The Baroque period, there was a great flowering. August the Strong, August der Starke, was the king. It was a dukedom at that time. He became the Duke of Saxony in 1694, but it became a kingdom when he became king of Poland in 1697. And Poland and Saxony were put together, and so Saxony became a kingdom. He wanted to flaunt his wealth, and so he went on a big building spree. He built major churches, major castles, and many of the great works of the Baroque era are in the city of Dresden. The absolute heart, the living, beating heart of this thriving city was the Frauenkirche, the Church of Our Lady. It was in the center of town, and it was the symbol of Dresden. When people thought about Dresden, the first thing they thought about was the Frauenkirche. Dresden was a very tightly built out city with very small, narrow streets and buildings on both sides, and not very much open space. So the incendiary bombs really did their job. The entire city was completely devastated. It looked like every building, and everything was burnt to a cinder. What is area bombing? When we go to war now and we bomb something, what do we bomb?
Specific targets.
Specific targets. And what makes something a specific target?
Value to make something.
Value to the enemy. Like if we want, we'd maybe bomb an airport, or you'd maybe bomb a bridge, or you'd maybe bomb a factory, or you'd maybe bomb a location where the army is set up. What is area bombing? You just bomb everything. You're not trying to differentiate between targets of importance and collateral damage. You're just bombing everything. Why would you area bomb? Scare the enemy, demoralize the enemy, cause the enemy to want to just give up, because it's not worth it to fight if everything's lost, if everybody's dead. What's the point of fighting? The bombing took place from February 13th through February 15th. 3 major bombing raids. First 2 by the British, the third by the United States Air Force. We're going to bombs that start a fire. And the fire creates a firestorm. And the firestorm creates its own weather. And it starts to suck in all the oxygen. And it creates a huge wind, a fire wind. And it burns everything and it burns the people, and it spreads like lightning. I lived in Dresden 25 years ago for 8 months. And while I was there, there were big, huge open spaces. Because what they did is they just cleared away the rubble, planted grass, and for years it was just a big, huge open space. That's not the way originally Dresden was. That's what it became. Dresden was in East Germany. In East Germany, they really only spent money on East Berlin. East Berlin was their showcase to make the world think that they had a nice system going on. In most of the other cities in Eastern Germany, they just built a fence around parts of the inner city that were either destroyed in the war or were not inhabitable anymore, and they just let them rot. To rebuild the Frauenkirche, they cataloged all of the stones that were left. Anything that was usable, they used again, and the other pieces that they couldn't reuse, they broke into smaller pieces and sold to people to help finance it. Dresden today, they use it for a variety of reasons. You might be watching a political talk show, and they're talking about something that's happened in the Middle East, or like a school that gets bombed or something like that by accident, by a drone. They'll say things like, we don't want to have another Dresden, because Dresden is a symbol for collateral damage, causing more damage than really is appropriate in war, killing people that aren't really responsible.
So we had a wonderful project this year with the German department and the band department, collaborative effort. Going into the Dresden concert allowed our kids to have an emotional side through the music to understand the 70th anniversary. It was a wonderful way to create, like I said, emotion, to create music along with that emotion. We actually saw a few kids leave rehearsal not because they were upset, because they gathered the meaning of what we were trying to do. All in all, it was a wonderful time getting both sides of our school together and working along with Stephen Van Orden.
Participating in the Dresden concert was really fun for the band, and it was really nice to learn about Dresden and the bombing of it, and also to remember the lives that were lost.
It was very intense. Like, we didn't have quite a full understanding of what happened, but through the history that we learned and playing our instruments to such an emotional song, it became a real thing to us.
Playing the song dedicated to Dresden was really interesting because it's one of the few songs that you know the history of, and you know why the emotion was put into that song and what inspired it.
It was eye-opening to see the other side of things.
It was kind of scary, but not a bad scary, kind of an emotional scary. It was good.
It kind of showed human life is pretty valuable in a way.
What I learned working on the Dresden project with the band was that there's still a lot of things we don't really know about the world around us. I didn't know about Dresden before I worked on the project, and it really was such a sad part of our history of the world, and I didn't really know about it. And that's one thing that we can all do. We can learn history and learn the significance of our history, and it can help us look at the future.
I learned more about the horrors of war, especially World War II. It gave me another reason to try to bring more peace to the world, try to never get another world war going.
I'm Kristen Sweeney, I'm a junior, and I drew this picture of Dresden. I titled it Es brennt, which means it burns, and the reason I even wanted to do this in the first place for my art class was we had a gigantic lesson on Dresden in World War II when it was bombed, and we heard so much and so many pictures and so many videos and all of the music and everything that went along with it just kind of stuck with me, and I've always kind of admired just everything that went into World War II as a whole, and this entire story of Dresden just kind of stuck out. So I really wanted to kind of make an impact on people, or just maybe make an impact on myself by just kind of putting my feelings into Dresden into a piece of art. So regarding the picture, I wanted to go for an effect of it had just come out of like the ruins of Dresden after it had been burned. So to do that, I looked at a lot of like ruined pictures and stuff. And at first I was even going to draw the chapel after it had been like cracked and burned and like destroyed. But I decided that I kind of wanted like a little bit of like a surrealistic version where I had one building, obviously this one right here, that was completely intact, and then everything else around it is kind of falling apart and burning. So I didn't want the effect that it just kind of came out like this. Later on, I do intend on putting a lot of red in the background to signify the flames, and making the smoke blacker and more gray. And regarding the pen and ink, there was a lot of cross-hatching, a lot of stippling involved, and a lot of brickwork.
Collaborating together as a Timpview Symphonic band and as a Timpview German program to learn more about culture and history allows us to build bridges. It is when we can connect knowledge in one discipline with understanding from another that the beginnings of wisdom are born. Learning cross-discipline lessons from the bombing of Dresden 70 years later adds the kind of context to our lives that empowers us to connect with other cultures and to build and participate in communities that are larger than our own.